Alright, everybody. Time for last but definitely not least, the minor power tier list for Spirit Island. I believe that this is the last Spirit Island tier list I have to make, but if I miss anything, let me know, I guess. Okay, so here we go. I think, so there's 100 cards here, so in order to make this not take eternity, I think we won't go into huge depth on any of the ones that end up here. If they're F or S, maybe we'll talk about it more. Or maybe we'll talk about these more and not as much these. Maybe we'll do that. Okay. Devouring Ants. Okay, so there's a few things before we start that's important to note. If a minor power costs 1, or if it costs 1, it's probably going to be B or lower. If it has 3 symbols on it, that's fine. There's some cards that have 4 symbols. That would make it definitely on the top half. And there's some cards that have 2 or less symbols, which would normally be lower except for some of the best ones in the game. So it's a little bit convoluted, but that's the idea. Targeting restriction and range is also going to affect how good a card is. But yeah, I guess that's the basics before we get started. So, I think that this one is B tier. You get a fear, you can do 2 damage, which is enough to kill a town, and then just don't be stupid and pick a land that has Dahan, so you don't have to kill Dahan. But that's actually a pretty solid card, and it can help you with a lot of spirits. Okay, next one. Treacherous Waterways. This one is going to be, it's not S tier, but it's definitely A tier. It's 0, it's fast. It can stop them from building, theoretically. In some rare cases, it could stop them from destroying you in Ravage. And you can also add some wilds, which is helpful. It's a little bit restricted on where you can target, but it has some good symbols as well, so definitely belongs there. Okay, Gold's Allure. This one is going to be A tier as well. It's another 0 cost card, and honestly, what it can do is pretty crazy. Essentially, if you have to target a mountain, but it doesn't matter much because you're gathering into that mountain. So theoretically, you could gather an explorer from an adjacent land to stop them from building, and you can gather a town from adjacent land to stop them from adding blight when they ravage, and you can add strife, and it doesn't have to be to one of those. So if there's a city there, you can add it to the city. So super good card. Okay, Inflame the Fires of Life. So I guess this is another area to talk about. It's ones that have thresholds, which are very rare on minor power cards, but some of them do have them. This is also a 4 element card. It does cost 1, which isn't great, and honestly, its effect isn't great. But because it actually, it gives you a lot of stuff, it's going to go in B tier. Okay, Infested Aquifers. Hope I got that right. This card is very bad. Yeah. I'm not going to put it in F. Honestly, no, I think I'm going to leave it in C because it has the 4 elements. No, that's not good enough. It belongs in F. It has 4 elements, but it has 0 range, and this effect is pretty worthless most of the time. And this one has to only be in specific lands, again, that you're in. So that card's horrible. Okay. Elusive Ambushes. This one's pretty good. Being able to defend in a land with Dahan is already awesome, so that's not a bad targeting restriction. The damage is pretty bad. Maybe I'll be a little bit more judgmental here. Because this one has a lot, I'm going to move this one down to C, because it can do a lot, but in general it won't. This one's going to go to B. In general, defend effects are pretty solid. So I think I figured out my criteria. Sorry for changing things up. Okay, spur the words or spur on the words of fire. This one can be really good. You essentially target somebody else, they can get an energy and then theoretically play another card, which enables so many things. I know a lot of people would say this one's S tier. I'm just going to say this one is A tier. Often I'll just play 2-player games, and then this ends up being not exactly required, although it could still be helpful, but often it doesn't do enough in a 2-player game. I know in a big game this one would be massive, but see your anger into wild lands. Okay, this one is 0 cost. What you get to do isn't awesome. Yeah, unfortunately what you get to do isn't awesome, so it's going to go B tier. Although, honestly, that's a card I'll pick up a lot of the time. Sucking Ooze. This one gets you 2 fear, which you should always target a land with invaders. You can isolate that land. It's fast, and it gives you some symbols. And it costs 0. This one's going to go in A tier as well. That's pretty much always a card I will pick up. 2 fear for 1 card play is absolutely worth it. Plus, you get isolate. Okay, Favor of the Sun in Starlit Dark. Essentially, this one just defends for you a little bit. I think this one falls in the land of B tier as well. Just because defense effects are often better than other effects. Plus, it's fast, whereas this is slow, adding strife. Okay, defend 5 in a land that you're in, or theoretically in a land that's 1 away. I feel like some people might think this is an S tier card. I feel like it's an A tier card. It only has 2 symbols, and then obviously you haven't met your own threshold with this. So I feel like that's where it belongs. Very clutch if it comes in at the right time. But Twilight Fog brings madness. This is a card that I appreciate how many symbols it has. That ends up being really helpful. It costs 0, which is really helpful. The effect doesn't end up being too helpful, so I think this one's going to go to B. Okay, The Shore Seethes with Hatred. This one is actually kind of cool because you can do a lot with it. It has a lot of symbols, so it's helpful for a lot of spirits, and then it actually gives you a decent amount. It's actually, I'll be more judgmental. It's going to go to C. It's got to go to C. It's pretty good, but it doesn't do anything to directly help most spirits, so it's going to go to C. Fleshrot Fever. This one belongs in F. So maybe I was wrong initially. Maybe the more symbols it has, the more expensive the card is, which means the worse it is. Also, it's often slow. So we'll see what we conclude at the end. Delusions of Danger, not Granger. This one can give you 2 fear, just like Sucking Ooze, but it doesn't have the other effect, and it costs 1. This one is going to be B tier. Okay, Sky Stretches to Shore. Someone can do something slow right now. They also get to increase their range. This cost 1 is fast and has 4 symbols. Whereas these cost 1 are slow and have 4 symbols. This one is going to go our first S tier card. Essentially, if you get this with Ocean, you've essentially just solved the game. You can get to your however many card plays you can get to, hopefully 5, and then just reclaim every single time and still target the coastal lands. Amazing. Enticing Splendor. This one is a little bit restricted on where you can do it, but again, it's a gather card, so it doesn't matter as much. I know a lot of people would probably say that this is one of the best cards in the game. It should be S tier, but I'm going to say this is an A tier card. It can stop them from doing something in some specific places, but it doesn't get rid of anything, and there's some restrictions on where it is, so I feel like that's where it goes. Roiling Bog and Snagging Thorn. This card I actually feel like has a whole lot of options. I think this was one of the most recent ones that were added. tons of symbols, does a ton. I'm going to put this one all the way in S tier because it will probably let you threshold whatever you're trying to threshold, and you just have so many effects. The only bad thing about it is that the one Dahan doesn't participate in Ravage, but just a very versatile card. Call to Isolation, getting a lot of good ones. This one is probably going to be the closest to S tier that we have had that's not S tier. This card, we played a game the other day, this let us push 3 towns or 4 towns from one land with a minor power, which is just ridiculous. And then we had something else to destroy them in the land that they were in. So, super good card. But I still think it belongs in A because if you're not in a perfect situation, it's just going to do something pretty basic for you. Thriving Choke Fungus. Does not sound fun. This one is straight to F as well. Often anything that adds disease is super slow and inefficient. So it's just not the move, in my opinion. Confounding Mist. So I always do the top part of this. I pretty much never do the bottom part of this. Yeah. But that's just me. I do think that this belongs in B though, just because it doesn't have any restrictions on where you can defend. Cycles of Time and Tide. This is a really interesting one. This is probably the closest one to what Days, I can't remember that entire name, Days That Never Were or whatever. This is the closest thing to a card that he has, and I actually think that this is a pretty good card, so this one's going to go to B. Blight Healing isn't always necessary, but adding Dahan is in general very, very helpful. Rights of Lands Rejection. Honestly, this is one that shouldn't be too bad, but I'm going to put this all the way in C. I just end up never wanting to actually get this, / it doesn't do enough for me to want it. Because normally it can only get me 1 fear or 2 fear if I'm really lucky. And yeah, I'd say that's about right. Tormenting Rotflies. This one, the bottom part can actually get you a ton of fear, and because of that I think we're going to put it in C, but it's a card that I almost never go for. Yeah, and you're somewhat restricted on where you can target, although you can target far away, and it's slow. And the top effect is just horrible, in my opinion. Okay, Carapace Lands. This one's certainly going to be A. Yeah. I think this one has to be A. I think that's where it belongs. It's a solid card. Call to Migrate. This is a card that at the beginning of the game I thought was so good, and then after a while I was like, wow, this in general does nothing for me because it's slow. So that's going to F. Domesticated Animals Go Berserk. That's a funny title. This one has a little bit of restrictions on where you can target. It has to be in the land that you're in. So I'm going to put this one in B tier. Weep for What Is Lost. I really like this card. I feel like it can get you a ton of fear, and it's cheap. And you get some movement with it. I also played this one just the other day to move, I think 2 or 3 towns from one land. It was crazy. Town/explorers. I think we're going to... yeah, I think we're going to put that one in B. Or sorry, A. Scream Disease Into the Wind. This is another one that could be massively helpful for oceans. But in general, it's not... you know what? We're going to put that one in C tier. Set them on an ever-twisting trail. I actually find that this one's pretty helpful. I feel like there's even though I feel like it's overcosted for what it does, I think it's pretty solid. Ferocious Growth. This is one that I believe there's a spirit that uses this with an aspect. I can't remember exactly which one. I think it's green. Blight removal. Not the most helpful thing in the world all the time, especially if it's slow. And you're kind of limited on where you target. And you only get 2 elements. This one's going C. The more I read, the less I like. Okay, Terror turns to Madness. There's a whole lot of spirits that can get so much out of this that struggle to build up early, or essentially all they do is build up early. So they need fear to help them move along. This is massively helpful with that. So it goes here. Honestly, I might put this in S tier because you're not going to want it late game, but late game you're probably not going to be going for minor powers anyways. And if this gets you fear over and over and over again, that's just ridiculous. So this actually does belong in S tier. And even once you get to the other tier levels, you can still do something with it. Animated Rackroot. This one is going to be another A tier card. Very good. Call to Bloodshed. This one you also use, I believe, with Thunder Speaker with one of his aspects. Very good card. Yeah, just very good all around. So much mobility for Dahan, and then you could just do a ton of damage as well. It's very good. Absorb Corruption. This is a weird card. This is honestly a weird card. I'm going to put it in C tier just because Blight Removal is often not the best thing in the game. And also you have to pay for it in addition to this. Honestly, now that I say that, this one goes to F. Essentially, you'd be playing this card in order to remove, you'd be paying 2 energy to remove 1 Blight. That's horrible. Teeming Rivers. Yeah, unfortunately, this is another one that is going to go to F tier. Call to Tend. I don't know why we got all Blight healing ones in a row. This one, unfortunately, is going to F. Renewing Rain. Now, I've been pretty hard on the Blight removal ones, but this one can add a Wild as well. This is still not the pick with everybody, but for some spirits, this is massive. Okay. Poisoned Dew. Yeah, this one unfortunately just doesn't do enough most of the time. So that's where it belongs. Bat Scout for Raids by Darkness. This is the one that Bringer of Dreams Nightmare uses with the violence aspect, which is just incredible. So with him, with violence specifically, this card is S tier, but with every other, or at least A tier, but with everyone else, I would probably say that this is B tier because it's slow and costs 1. Scour the Land. This is a crazy one. This is one of the most damage minor powers you can get. But you're required to add Blight with this one and the other one. Because this one has such a threshold, we're going to put it in A, just because you could maximize it so much. Sunset's Fire flows across the land. Unfortunately, this one just isn't very good. We're going to put this one in C. It does actually do something for you, and it can give you some options, unlike some of these. But Pull Beneath the Hungry Earth. I think that there's a spirit that might use this with an aspect. Maybe that's not true. Maybe I just happen to get this one a lot. Yeah, I think this one is solid. This one's just going to go in B. Reaching Grasp. Unfortunately, even though this does what some other I just feel like this doesn't do anything for me almost always. So this is going to go in C. This is probably going to be our only 0 cost card to be in C. I know this is really good in a big game, but often most spirits just don't need this. Uncanny Melting. This one's just going to go C as well. At least it can get you some fear. This one gets you fear and defends. That's a pretty solid card. That's going to go A. This one, Nature's Resilience. This one is Defend 6, which I think might be the highest defend card in here. You can theoretically remove Blight with it as well. I guess because of that, we will put it in S tier. I feel like that's where it belongs. Okay. Rain of Blood. Honestly, let's be true to who I am. This is going to stay in A tier. It's a good card, but I honestly don't pick this all the time. So we're putting it here. Rain of Blood. This one is essentially almost guaranteed 3 fear the entire game. Yeah, it's just very good. Cards that get you fear are awesome. That one's going to be S tier. Entrancing Apparitions. This one, or Apparitions. This one can actually be really good as well. This one has a lot of versatility. It's going to go in B. Bird's Cry Warning. Unfortunately, this is just a card that I don't want to add Blight, so I don't want to use this card for the top one, and pushing the Dahan has to be paired with something that can defend, so it's going to be C. Flow Downriver, Blow Downwind. This one doesn't do much for what it is, but it can be helpful. It's just unfortunate that it's slow, but honestly you have a huge range and it's cost 0, so I believe it's B. Pact of the Joined Hunt. This one's actually pretty solid. This is often really, really good. It's likely that whoever, you can target any spirit, whoever it is likely already has 2 Dahan in one of their lands. They can gather another to essentially do 3 more or less damage. So, very good card. And it doesn't have to be you, so you can pick anyone. So that gives you a huge range with this. Razor Sharp Undergrowth. This is such a weird card. It does so much. It's going to go in B. I feel like if it had more symbols and it didn't kill a Dahan, it would be A. But Promises of Protection. Gather some Dahan, make them have more hit points. This one's going to go B as well, unfortunately. I do feel like it can be very solid, but often I want to defend the lands. Although I guess this just makes it so they don't die, so I guess that's something. Like Calls to Like. This one I actually think has some versatility and can be good, but it's going to go in C for now. Encompassing Ward. This one is another big AoE defend card. So because of that, let's put it in B. Maybe I'll just shift this over just a little bit so I can keep these going. Okay, Gift of Power. This one goes right to S tier. You get tons of symbols. It costs 0. Someone, doesn't have to be you, gains a minor power, which is immensely helpful. So hopefully you gain this card. It helps you threshold whatever you're trying to threshold, and then you help somebody else on the team, unless you really need it. So massively, massively good card. There's so many spirits that just cannot gain minor, or that cannot gain power cards very easily, and this just solves it for them. Also, awesome art. Dire Metamorphosis. This is another card that, even though I'm not going to put it massively high, is just an awesome, awesome card. You add so many things, including Blight, which isn't great, but this one is going to go in B tier. Not just because it's not amazing, but it has a lot of symbols, which is awesome, and it gives you so many things. So there's just a ton of spirits that can use it. Desolating Winds. Yeah, this one just doesn't do enough. It's slow adding a Badlands and maybe doing damage. Crazy. Mesmerized Tranquility. This one is very, very versatile as well. This one's going to go in A tier. You can isolate a land and then everybody in it does -1 damage. It's not really defending, but it's very helpful. Gnawing Root Biters. This is going to be our next C tier one that costs 0. This effect just does pretty much nothing, and it only has 2 symbols on it. So, Shadows of the Burning Forest. This one is slightly restricted on where it is, but you can get 2 fear and push stuff. This card, I guess you have to push though. I guess the thing, you don't have as much option. Does this belong? I do think it does. I think this one belongs in A tier. I was wondering if it belonged in S. I do think it's A, though. Swarming Wasps. Great way to add beasts. This one is going to be... This one's going to be B tier. It's a very good card on certain spirits. It's just ridiculously good, but most spirits don't use beasts. So... that stops it from getting to A. Strong and Constant Currents. This is a really weird one. I struggle to make this work well. Very easy to threshold, but I struggle to make it work well. Because of that, it's going to go in B tier. And you're very restricted on where you can do it, because it has to be in your presence and a coast. Okay. Drought. This is the other card that can kill everything. Cost 1. This one has more symbols, and you can kill a city with it as opposed to just all the towns or a bunch of towns. And how does this other one work? Yeah, 3 towns. Yeah. So this one is going to be A tier as well, just because it's literally a major power that costs 1, but it adds blight. Veil the Night's Hunt. This one I think can be really good as well. This one's going to belong in B because they can't do damage to different they have to do damage to different invaders, whereas Call to Bloodshed, they can just do damage to whoever they want. Disorienting Landscape. This one I find to be just so helpful as well because it costs 1. It can't be in A tier for that effect, but often if I'm going to gain this card, it's because I can stop them from building and then also add a wild, which is pretty massive. Sky's Herald Herald the Season of Return. Unfortunately, I just feel like this one just doesn't do anything, so it's gonna go in F tier. Yeah, I just feel like it doesn't do anything. Super helpful if you're using the green Destroyed Spirit aspect. But okay, Blood Draws Predators. Yeah, this card is just really, really, really good if you're using a Beast Spirit, but not everybody does. It does have a ton of symbols on it though, and it actively does something for you. So even if you're not using a Beast Spirit, this card will still give you a ton of symbols, add beasts, and you're certainly going to be destroying something in your turn, or something is going to get destroyed. So this will always have some benefit. Okay, Entrap the Forces of Corruption. Unfortunately, this is another card that just doesn't do anything. So, I mean, I guess you stop blight from being added. I guess that's something. So, you know what? This card does have some... You can gather a blight, which could stop another land from cascading. You could isolate this land, and when the blight gets added, it doesn't cascade. So this one's super situational, but it does a few different things. I was wrong. Purifying Flame. Yeah, this one just doesn't do enough. Just doesn't do enough. At most, this is probably going to get you 2 damage. And you could maybe remove a blight, but that's pretty unlikely. Gives you a lot of symbols, but it's just not good enough. Okay, Gift of Twinned Days. This is one that's considered one of the best in the game, so it's probably going to S tier. So whoever you target gets to repeat their lowest cost power card by paying its cost again, and then you can do the same. So, yeah, I can definitely understand why this would be S tier. Okay. Land of Haunts and Embers. I used to love this card, but that was mainly because I would play the Lightning Spirit all the time. And it would give him his symbols, but unfortunately, this is a card that I often play and then don't even use its effect because I don't want to have to add the Blight. Man, I know it might seem horrible to put this here, but in order to get 4 Fear, you have to be adding 2 Blight, essentially. So I think that's where it belongs. Okay. Dry Wood explodes in Smoldering Splinters. Yeah, I just feel like this card does very little, so it's going to be C tier. Song of Sanctity. I feel like this one does very little as well. This is gonna go in C tier. Renewing Boon. Yeah, this one is going to be C tier as well. It does some things for you. I just don't feel like the things that it does are super helpful. Although it really can be, but it's very situational. So, Guardian Serpents. Yeah, this one's very cool. I don't know if I'd ever actually looked at the art on that one before, but it's very cool. Yep, I really like this. You are always going to be doing it in land where you have a spirit site. You get to add a beast. You get 4 symbols. It costs 1, and you get to defend 4. So this one is, and it can be any spirit, so you can pick yourself or someone else. Very versatile. A tier. Gift of Constancy. Okay, this one is probably the best minor power in the game, arguably, but I don't know how much of an argument it is. You can pick someone to get 2 energy. They get to reclaim 1 power card at the end of the turn instead of discarding it, and then you get to do the same if you pick somebody else. So, yeah. It only has 2 symbols, but it's just very, very good. Here there are monsters. I love that. Love it. You get to push some stuff. You get to get some fear. It has to be in the land that you're in, but I would say that this one is S tier as well. It's just so good. It's so good for its cost. Yeah. You can essentially get 3 fear and theoretically push something. It's just ridiculous. Visions of Fiery Doom. This is going to be an interesting one. This one is going to be like B&1/2. I feel like this one could easily be C. You can get some fear and push some stuff, but it doesn't give you a lot of symbols. It has to be in a land that you're in, and it costs 1. It is helpful, but it's not going to be awesome most of the time. Savage Maw Beasts. This card I actually really like. I love the threshold of this one. I do think it belongs in B. Prowling Panthers. Struggling. I feel like this is in this range as well. I feel like we're going to put this one in B. Yeah, we're going to put this one in B because it does do some things and it can be very helpful. Okay, Portents of Disaster. So you know how I talked about how some cards are give you 3 fear but are slow. This one is essentially going to give you 2 fear fast and probably 1 fear slow. Almost guaranteed 1 fear slow. So this one's going to be S tier as well. But essentially, if you're playing a 1 spirit game and you play 1 card that gets you 3 fear, it like gets you a fear card almost every single time you play it. And so the average hope for every single card, in my opinion, is that every single card you play is going to get you 2 fear or more. If you're not at that pace, there's a lot of spirits that really struggle against higher level adversaries. So these make up the gap with a lot of those spirits, in my opinion. Okay, Lure of the Unknown. I think this is an awesome card. It has 4 elements, costs 0, and then it's a little bit, you know what? I'm actually going to put this one in S tier. It's a little bit inefficient, or it's a little bit specific in where you can target, because it can be far away, but it has to not have any invaders already. But you can essentially stop them from building in a land, or you can stop them from adding blight in a land. And you're still probably going to be able to threshold whatever you want. So, very good card. Gift of Living Energy. This one you get to give... Oh man, you can give 3 energy with this. Last time I played this, we gave 2 energy. That's crazy. Gift of Living Energy can theoretically give someone 3 energy. Wow. Yeah, that's a really good card. That's going to be S tier because you can give 3 energy to somebody. Haunted by Primal Memories. This one can theoretically be 3 fear and defend 3. I think it's unlikely that that's going to happen, that you would get the 3 fear and maximize the defend. So because of that, it's going to go in A tier. Rouse the Trees and Stones. This one is a little bit limited in what you can do because you can't target a land with blight. And this 2 damage is good, but sometimes not enough to kill a town because of event cards that will come out or because of the adversaries you're playing against. But I do think it's good enough to say B tier. If it only had 2 symbols, we'd move it down. But okay, Fire in the Sky. This is another one that absolutely belongs in S tier. You can get Fear and add Strife, and Strife is just fast. Strife is perfect for defending lands, essentially, because the Dahan be able to counterattack and hopefully kill whatever's there. Okay, Call to Trade. Okay, I know that a lot of people would consider this an S tier card. I do not. Yeah. Yep. I just don't even use this card. It has 4 elements. I'm going to be... Actually, I won't be brutally... No, I will be. We never grab this. We always want to destroy things, not let them keep building up. Which maybe is wrong. Because this can theoretically stop 2 lands from getting blight, but I would rather just be able to defend those lands in general. So, I think we're going to put that one in C tier. Hot take. Steam Vents. This one's going to be a solid B tier card. It's a little bit expensive, but it gives you tons of elements, and if you threshold it, you get to kill a town fast. Pretty solid. Call to Ferocity. I think this is a pretty diverse card that you can do a lot with, but I think I'm just going to put it in B tier just for the sake that the bottom effect is really good, but the top effect I don't feel like would cut it most of the time to slowly move on. Okay, Elemental Boon. Ding ding, this is another S tier card. I play games with this all the time where it's amazing, and it can let people threshold things that they normally wouldn't be able to at all. Because so there's certain ones that... So if you remember... So Gift of Living Energy, you can give somebody else up to 3 energy, or you give yourself up to 2 energy. Gift of Constancy, if you pick yourself, you get the effect and somebody else doesn't get any effect. But if you pick somebody else, they get a really good effect and you get some effect. This one, the person gets to pick 3 elements and you get those same 3 elements. It's not that they pick 3 and you pick 2 or 1. You get the 3 as well. So you get just as much of a choice of what you want. So if we both need fire, we'll both take fire, and then you get 1 element you want, and then I'll get 1 element I want. We both get copies of what the other person got. So amazing card. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Gift of Nature's Connection. Turns out the gifts are pretty good. This one, a lot of people would probably put this one in S tier. I'm going to put this one in A tier. Getting the 2 energy is great, and the 2 of a single element is great. But like I said with the other one, if you target another spirit, you also gain an element of your choice. But this only gives you 1 element on entire card play, which often means you're not going to be thresholding whatever big thing you're going to want to threshold. Okay, Drift Down into Slumber. This is an amazing card, but it does just get A tier because it can only defend 4 in 2 kinds of lands. Okay, Call to Guard. Yeah, this card is so good. S tier would be Call to Guard because you can defend 1 per Dahan and gather Dahan, so it's almost always going to be enough. And then there's a bottom effect too, but you'll probably almost always do the top one. Okay, Quicken the Earth's Struggles. So I was actually wrong. This one is actually the biggest defend card, I believe. The top effect is very rarely helpful, but the bottom effect is very helpful often. I'll just be legit though. Even though this card is super good, it has no range and it has to be at a spirit site. So I think this one belongs in B tier. Okay, Unpunchable Flames. This is one of the aspect or cards you use with aspect with shadows, and this actually works out really well with him. I don't feel like this card does much, but it can add Badlands, which is really helpful, and you can make people not heal, which is helpful, and you get some fear. So it does belong in B, in my opinion. And then Call of the Dahan Ways. This card is so cool. Love switching. Essentially, whenever you get more Dahan, that's a great thing. And when you can turn a town into a Dahan, that's just ridiculous. So, I think we'll just put this one in A because it doesn't get you fear, so it doesn't help you win the game necessarily, but it will certainly make the game a lot easier for you, or at least it should. Okay, Territorial Strife. This card is amazing. You can do 3 damage in a land with cities, just not to the city. Or you could add Strife, but in general, the top one is the best. And then last, but probably not least, oh yeah, definitely not least, hazards spread across the island. Insane range. The important thing to note about this is that exists in an adjacent land. So if I'm targeting this land and it has beasts, there has to be a beast adjacent for me to add a beast here. If not, you can't count what's already in that land, if that makes sense. So that's slight restriction on it, but in general, massively good. This card is going to go with S tier because it's always going to do something of some substance for you, and it has so many symbols. So that, I believe, is my last Spirit Island tier list, everybody. I think I will do some other games, maybe Marvel Splendor would be a pretty easy one to do, or Thanos Rising. We'll have to see which other ones, but if there's anything else you want me to do, just let me know. Thanks.